Overexercise and food restriction most always will lead to binging. It's just what the human brain does. Our body is sending signals to our brain that we are being deprived, and so we binge as a method of survival. But what's interesting is diet culture doesn't tell you it's a brain thing. Diet culture tells you you had a moment of weakness. You don't have enough self-discipline. And so when you eat the forbidden food, the food you were literally never supposed to have again, right? Because you were going to stick to this diet. At least for me, my brain went, well, screw it. I just messed up. I'm already here. I might as well eat all the donuts. I might as well eat all the ice cream. And then tomorrow, I'll never eat it again. Problem though, is that once you binge, you are overcome with guilt. Your mind is racking up how many calories you just ate. So it leads you back to even greater restriction the next day. You're like, I'm gonna restrict better than I ever have. I'm gonna exercise like crazy to make up for it. Or maybe it leads to some form of purging. But this is just the toxic cycle, and it starts all over because, again, remember, restriction will always lead back to binging. And of course, those that push diets and wellness plans, if they had to look at how the human brain was functioning, they would realize they're selling you a product that will never work. This is why diets never work. And then one more thing, again, not a food psychologist, but shame. It's the lowest vibrational emotion. We will do anything to avoid feeling this emotion as humans. And so, isn't it funny when we think about emotional eating? We've invited shame and guilt into the picture, right? And the thing that numbs the feeling of the shame and the guilt when we mess up is food. The food is numbing the pain. So if we're learning to use food to numb out the most severe emotional pain a human can experience, why not wouldn't we also turn to food to numb out every other emotion we don't want to feel? This is a toxic cycle. It's literally a hamster wheel. You won't get off of it until you realize dieting is not going to fix anything, and more restriction and more food rules is not going to fix anything. How much of your life, how much of our lives are we throwing towards this endless chase that's not going to get us what we want, that's not going to allow us to feel worthy, loved, better about ourselves? In my experience, the true self-worth that we all have inside of us, but really rarely don't really understand or feel connected to, that can only be experienced when we take off our masks, when we cast aside everything that we're using to try to desperately show the world we're worthy. For me, it was looking perfect. When we can cast that aside, own our full story, and share our struggles, and then realize that people are still standing by us, wanting to listen, wanting to be connected, and willing to love us despite all of these things we tried so hard to hide from everyone, that is the moment you can finally start to connect to your true innate worth as a human.